Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Newsmakers Viva la Fiesta. Yet is in fact that time of year. I am joined today on Friday, August 2nd by my colleagues, Callie Fausey of the Santa Barbara Independent, Nick Welsh, the Angry Poodle and executive editor of the Independent, and Josh Molina, man of many hats and master of the combative podcast, which we'll talk about it a little bit at the end of the show. But we got to start with Fiesta. Callie, you drew the duty this year of covering Fiesta Pequeña, and something one should do at least once in your life, and probably never again. But you wrote a lovely story about it. You made it sound new. What was your impression?
I really enjoyed it. It was so much more, I guess, elaborate and the amount of performances kind of blew my mind, and the dancers were just incredible. Like every single dance performance was unique in its own way, and the dresses were gorgeous, the suits were amazing. Um, it was a really spectacular event, and it was gorgeous.
Did they get you
Definitely,
a decent seat, or did you have to sit in the meadow?
I did get a decent seat, but I chose to sit in the meadow because I only got one decent seat, and I was with my friends to cover it. So we sat in the meadow with everyone else, and there were children running around blowing bubbles. It was really, really sweet.
No, it's a great scene. It really
Yeah,
it
and
is.
all of the I think over 40 past spirits of Fiesta, because it was the 75th year of the Spirit of Fiesta. Like over 40 of them came back, dating
Wow,
back all the way from 1960 for like this big grand finale. So it
cool.
was really cool. Yeah.
That
That's
is
pretty amazing.
that is
hmm
cool. And Josh, you're in the spirit of Fiesta with your profile of the original Cascarone maker, Adelaida. What's the story with that?
Yes, I did a story on the Mendes family, Adelaida Mendes and Henry Mendes, her son. She's 86 years old and she has a stand set up near the corner of De La Guerra and State Street. And she has the most elaborate cascarones that you can buy. And, my story just kind of explains
Really
her
like this?
process. Exactly, just like that.
Oh no.
Um,
We need a little prop here. Come on, man.
is that a homemade one or what?
Yeah, it's homemade. I think she made it.
Yeah, so she
What is your
she's
thought?
got all sorts of things. She's got a Kobe Bryant egg. She's got a John Palmentary egg, which she doesn't sell. She only gives it to him as a gift, even though people have offered $500 for a tray, outrageous amounts for these eggs, but it's kind of a process it takes to make them, so they don't sell them. But it's kind of cool because she's permitted. There's a whole bunch of vendors downtown. Some of them are not permitted. They have a permit through the city. And, it's really, there's so much controversy these days around Fiesta and old Spanish days and appropriation. And, what are we actually honoring here? And there's just a lot of people who are offended by the fact that we're honoring old Spanish days. But the heart of Fiesta to me is the eggs, the cascarones. Like that is so fun to be able to crack an egg on someone's head with, of course, paper inside.
Not
That's
Mylar.
what's cool.
Not
What?
Mylar.
No Mylar. And downtown it's just full of confetti, paper confetti. And to me, that's what it's all about. John Palmentary let my daughter Megan drop an egg on his head, crack an egg on his head. He did it in reverse, and it's so fun. So I really like that part of it. So I just thought I'd shine a light on the story on that family because they, they're pretty cool. And she told me in 1 week, they will start preparing eggs for next year. They got almost 5,000 that they're trying to sell.
Yeah, it's a
But Josh, you
good.
didn't mention the fact that it used to be Cascarones for 4 for $1, and now it's 3 for $1. This
Oh,
is driving up inflation. This is why Donald Trump might get into the White House.
oh,
This is
that was Joe Biden.
Cascarone creep.
That was Joe Biden's fault. No, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything to do with that. Well, Nick, I don't think you can really wield a Cascarone without breaking it on your head. So let's see it for those viewers who may have not.
All right, you want to see how it's done?
Yes, we
Okay.
want to see.
See, this is a tradition. Allegedly, Cascarones happen in other cities, but only in Santa Barbara. It's like egg a muffin. It's really a Santa Barbara thing. And it started off like in the 1840s, where at a wedding, the women.
You were covering. I think you
I
covered.
was covering it. Yeah, what the women would do, if they liked the man, they would take an egg that was infused with perfume, and they'd smash it over his head, and he kind of. One theory is that would be, they would be claiming him by leaving their scent on him. The other theory is that the guys at that time, when the tallow trade was the big industry of Santa Barbara, smelled so bad that the women had to protect themselves with perfume by putting it over their heads. But nowhere else in the country is Cascarones celebrated as wonderfully and as outrageously as Santa Barbara.
All right, let's see it. Let's see it.
All right.
All right. Oh, look at that. Well, we are making history here on television. This is television history. All right. All right.
Yeah, but I want. Oh,
well, we're done. Fist. Callie, they didn't make you cover the horse parade, huh? What? There was even controversy about that. They took out all the good horses. Henry, stop. All right.
They're not going to. Well, as you know, Jerry, they're not going to allow horses back on State Street. That is the line in the sand that the police chief is drawing. We will not have equine riots.
I think it's about time we get rid of this chief. She's been here long enough now. All right. Callie, you had a little story about the what is, I believe, the final labor settlement at the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Yes, is that the last contract that needs to be wrapped up with the?
Are you talking about
maintenance
the
workers and so on? Yes.
Yeah, so they reached a tentative wage agreement with the CSEA, and it's the same agreement that they reached with the Santa Barbara Teachers Association. So they're getting 10% this year. I think it's like 3% in 2025, and then 2% in January 2026.
So 15% over 3 years. Well, 2.5 years, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So they'll back it up. They'll get back pay.
Yeah, they'll get, so it's retroactively applied to like July 1st, 2024.
So it's one of those stories that ends not with a shout but a whimper. But probably more to come. Josh, you had the opportunity to speak with Hilda Maldonado at some length this week. I think it's on your upcoming podcast. What's her state of mind?
Yeah, so I did about 90 minutes with Hilda Maldonado, next episode of Santa Barbara Talk. So
long-form journalism.
Exactly. So yeah, it's pretty.
Are you going to bring that out as a series, Josh, or you're just gonna leave it all at once?
Yes, multi-parts. I'll try to get sponsors for each part and break it out that way. Yes, no, it's kind of cool. She kind of answers all of the questions that have come up, accusations, things that people have said about her over the years. As you may know, she's been on your show, Jerry, but she's not been on my show in the last 4 years. So it's kind of a breakthrough for us. And I'm sure no one will be happy with it because, I think people who don't like Hilda would want something else and vice versa.
What's the headline that she said about the long and grueling and sometimes bitter contract negotiations?
Well, she says she's a person, she cares. She can't talk about those things in public. The Brown Act. She's a former teacher. She's negotiated on that side. She feels very bad for everyone, and she's proud of the students, the ones that protested against her, and she wants them to be advocating for change. And so we dive deep, and she answers questions about Hosby Galindo and the public relations campaign and how she felt with that huge effort. She also smiles a little bit at the result, which basically sided with the district. And she's very sort of proud of that as well. So
She's not doing a touchdown dance, is she?
no, I mean, she's aware though that the teachers won. I'm sorry, that the district side, they prevailed. And and I know Kelly knows this, she has a Me Too clause. So she got the same raise that the teachers did. So,
Yep.
And we talked about Steve Vance, the COO, the accident of the cabinet, all that stuff.
It sounds like she's feeling pretty confident.
I think she is. She just got a new contract. She's going to be here through 2027. As we know, the board, there's 3 board seats up, and so there may be efforts to run challengers to maybe make a change in that area, but maybe not. We'll see who actually steps forward and steps up. But she's in a positive frame of mind right now.
All right, Callie, remind me who the 3 seats are again that are up?
It's Bill Banning, Wendy Sims Moten, and Sunita Bial.
Okay, yeah, and they're all running for either re-election or to get the seats to which they were appointed.
I heard Wendy wasn't running.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You hear that, Josh?
Yeah, I've been told Wendy's out. Bill Banning is in her district. So Bill Banning is running. Sunita Bial is running. And there's some other people running who I don't know or not been announced publicly.
So that leaves a district open seat?
Believe so. Yeah, because Banning is in Wendy's seat in district. So Banning would have not run if Wendy decided to run. But I think Wendy's moving on, doing different things now. And so Banning is going to be in there. The teachers have said they're going to try to get candidates. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe that'll come out soon. I think the deadline is August 9th.
Coming
So
right up, yeah.
they're still.
I think they
they're
just
still
had their candidate training thing too. I'm curious to hear how that went.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. That's an open seat. That could be added to our short list of interesting things going on in the local elections. And don't forget, August 28th, 1st and 3rd district debates, co-sponsored by TVSP, Newsmakers, and Josh. Santa Barbara Talks. Nick, are you guys doing any campaign forums?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
we're doing them all. We have,
You have your usual enthusiasm about this project.
you know what? We're tired. We're going to do our part to combat the news desert of political campaign coverage. We're going to step up. No, I grumble and moan and complain, and I'm such a whiner. I make everybody sick. But we're going to do it. We're going to. Last year, I think we were sort of off. This year, we're going to step it up.
Nick, do you agree with me that if the Independent had held a forum for the 1st District Board of Supervisors seat, Goss would have won?
Do you actually think that?
No, I think it was, well, I don't know.
It did rain that night, right? Oh, no, that was the League of Women Voters.
Well, that was the other.
Oh.
Oh, you were going to do the 3rd district.
The 3rd district was the one we dropped because of the rain.
That
was the one.
All
and
right.
I think Sharon Hartman was going to win that one no matter what.
No, I think you're right. You picked the wrong race or the wrong. No, you picked the right horse and the wrong. Anyway, Nick,
you better go back on your horse.
I was interested in your piece about Gavin Newsom sort of ordering local officials to destroy, or what is it, resolve encampments for the homeless. What's going on with that?
Well, okay, so the Supreme Court about 2 months ago issued a ruling saying that it is no longer considered cruel and unusual punishment for local governments to cite and remove homeless people from camping or sleeping in public if there are no beds for them to go in, which was the law of the land effectively on the West Coast since about 2018. At that point, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said, local jurisdictions can't remove people from sleeping outside if there's not a shelter for them, and to do otherwise would constitute cruel and unusual. Supreme Court came out 6-3 saying that's a bogus argument. Gavin Newsom had filed a friend of the court brief asking that ruling be changed, and he sided with the conservative majority of the Supreme Court. Afterwards, he issued an executive order saying all state agencies have to get rid of encampments on their property and strongly urged local governments to do the same. And it's sort of a really mixed blessing. I mean, part of what I got into is, I got into sort of a petty, but I don't think so, riff on the name. It's like they don't talk about clearing out an encampment. They don't talk about eradicating. They don't use real language. They talk about resolving. So
Yeah, it's like the Pentagon there.
It is just like this fuzzy speech that it would be good to call what it is. The reality is, though, however, in Santa Barbara County and a lot of places, people have been resolving encampments for a long time, citing health and safety issues. And actually in Santa Barbara County, though, the other difference is that local governments have really been upping their game in a major way in terms of providing more and more shelter. They're not shelter spaces, but they are beds. And they are in tiny homes, they're in motels, they're in, they're much more desirable, actually.
And I thought you had a terrific suggestion that there's so many more people living in their cars. Why doesn't the city open up some of the parking spaces?
Well, this to me has been sort of like the obvious solution, hiding in broad daylight.
Yeah.
When you look at the latest homeless count, the big majority of them, most people are not living in shelters. Most people are living in their cars, and there's a big growth in the number of people living in their cars, and a lot of them are seniors, and a lot of them are families. And we have in Santa Barbara for 20 years something called the Safe Parking Program, which everybody swears by. It's like, the second coming of sliced bread, and it's highly effective and humane, and really, there's no melodrama. Yet the number of spaces, of new parking lots that are made available to this program are, it's very hard to get new ones to come on board. And the state of California has, the EDD building. They have nobody using.
Oh yes, it's state property.
The state properties. There are all these state office buildings, and they have been asked multiple times, can we use your parking space for this program? And the answer is always no, or talk to somebody else, or not today. And, Monique Limon has gotten involved, Greg Hart's gotten involved, other people have gotten involved, and it's always talk to the hands. And it is just sort of like, I get Gavin Newsom, he is a great grandstander. He is obviously trying to cover his
pin it all on local government.
He's a very mixed blessing and a mixed curse, and he does a lot of good stuff for homeless housing, and he does some other stuff like this. And a lot of people are upset by what he did, saying, look, what you're going to do is encourage local governments who don't want to help out at all to just try to arrest their way out of it. Yeah. Or they're just going to come in and do a heavy-handed law enforcement approach and chase homeless people from their jurisdiction into other jurisdictions.
All right.
And so for jurisdictions that are actually trying to help, they're like, thanks so much, Gavin. We really didn't need that. And you could have just kept your mouth shut and everything would have worked out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
A close call between Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom for worst person in the world, but Gavin wins. Except for Trump. All right. Callie, I saw a picture of our friend Elsa Granado's in the paper, and I assumed, and she was smiling. So I guess it's good news for her victims of sexual assault and rape and so on program. You had written about that a while back, and I know we talked about it. She was really scrambling. What happened?
Yeah, so when the Congress announced that they were cutting VOCA, Victims of Crime Act funding by like nearly $700 million. All of the, victim services in Santa Barbara County were like, oh no, what are we going to do? They were facing, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of losses. They were questioning, how they were going to fund their services. But after some, like campaigning, some pressure from victim services from around the state, Governor Newsom signed into the final 2024 budget agreement a $103 million safety net, to make sure that these services don't have to close their doors or lose some of the essential programming that they provide to victims like throughout the year.
It's not an ongoing expenditure. It's a one time.
It's a one-time thing, and so even though they have this temporary safety net, this little band-aid, it's the future is worrying them, because the funding, the decline, funding for VOCA has been in decline for years, because white collar crime, which is what funds it, has also been in decline for about a decade.
Now, is that really true that their white collar criminals are no longer doing their part?
No, they're not getting caught.
They're not getting caught, they're not getting prosecuted. I read multiple different theories or like causes, but like these cases usually take a long time to prosecute. And yeah, I guess maybe they're not doing it as much. But there was no like single reason that like any of the websites I read could point to say like why there's been this decline.
Callie, I think what's happening is they're doing the identity theft crime where they call old people up and they do some elder scam, and the cops will tell you that it is impossible to track these down, and it's and by the time your checking account has been looted, they're off and running somewhere else, and tracking the technology and manpower required to go after this type of crime is really daunting for law enforcement. I don't think white collar crime is down. I just think it's shifted in a more challenging way.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, speaking of seniors who are getting the short end of the stick, Josh, there was an interesting presentation at City Council this week. You wrote about the sort of facet of the housing situation that as regards to seniors. What was the bottom line on that?
So there was a report from the Area Agency on Aging. Margaret Weiss gave a presentation, a very good presentation, saying 1 in 4 Santa Barbara residents will be over 60 by 2030. And what does that mean? That means that's also a big need for housing for seniors. It's a need for young people to also have housing because seniors need care and there's not enough space for people for them to go into. It is expensive. Not everybody can go into an assisted living facility. So we need caregivers. It's usually family members, sometimes not. And there's not enough young people in the community to care for seniors, and seniors need housing as well. So it was sort of a different take on the impact of the housing crisis and what that means. And she had lots of good data, lots of good statistics. She also talked about walkability. Santa Barbara needs better public transportation. The same thing that young people, in their 20s, 30s want is the same thing people, in their 60s want in terms of livability in a city. So it was really well done. And I know that she is giving this presentation. She has been giving it at the various public agencies over the last month. And so I decided to write a story because it's just fascinating.
I mean, seriously, it's a huge issue statewide. I know Pedro Nava has been doing some stuff about it.
Well, is it really a reflection of the fact that young people are being chased out of town?
Well, and plus old people are living longer.
Old people are living longer, young people are being chased out of town, and older people don't want to sell their homes until the very last. So it has an effect on the housing stock, but are we seeing this accelerate because of housing prices? Or is this
She did say it's accelerating. She's saying it's the worst that it's ever been. And I think the other issue, if I could riff off what she said, is we do have the housing crisis, and there's so many people with second homes in Santa Barbara who use them for Airbnb or use them for vacation, and there's lots of like residences in Santa
Did she
Barbara.
have data on that? Is there a number to attach to that?
She did not have data on that, but she encouraged Santa Barbara to become a senior city through AARP, so that there could be some access to funding to plan for senior citizens. So it was a really fascinating presentation, and she's with the Independent Living Resource Center, and it's one of the few times that you had conversation at City Hall from that demographic, because so much of the activism has come from young people saying, we can't afford to live here. And here's some seniors saying, we can't afford to live here. And not every senior owns a home. There's definitely seniors on Section 8, seniors in rental apartments, and it's not just the ones who are sitting on their houses and don't want to sell.
not to go back, but I mean, one of the fastest growing demographics and people who are living in their cars are older people.
Did this appear to make any impact on any members of the council? Did anybody engage with her?
Well, I think the only one who commented was Kristen Sneddon, and she said, Councilmember Sneddon, she said, this was the report that I didn't know I needed. And she said it was very enlightening and was going to make her think about these issues. But other than that, there was no vote. It was just the count. It was the presentation. There was no public comment. And then Sneddon offered her comments. I think it got everyone thinking, though. And again, it's another angle and aspect to the housing crisis. And what Nick said, women, seniors who are women, face this challenge much harder, and they are living in their cars, and they are impacted more by rents that are escalating, rents that are going up. So it isn't all just a young person thing. It affects pretty much all ages.
Yeah. Hey, Callie, real quick, lots of news from the critter beat this week. What is the owl? What kind of owl got some protection? And then there's something new at the zoo. You were all over it.
Yeah, so the Western burrowing owl, which is the only owl that nests in roofs underground, is on its way to securing better protections because it's been wiped out from, I think, 19 of the 50 California counties it once, inhabited, and it's nearing extinction in 10 other California counties.
Because of coyotes, cats, and stuff. I mean, if you're going to live in the ground, you're kind of. I mean, I'm not really victim blaming here, but I mean, come on.
I mean, it's obviously they have predators, and I think there's also been like a decline in prey for them. But a lot of it is, the conversion of grasslands and other state lands into agriculture. There's urban sprawl. Wind and energy infrastructure has kind of encroached on their habitats. But yeah, so the EPA, or not the EPA, the Fish and Wildlife, California Department of Fish and Wildlife just recently, submitted a recommendation that they become a candidate for endangered or threatened status, and they'll get protections.
Where is it in Santa Barbara County?
I think they're up in, they're in South County. So they live around, I know that they live around UCSB. UCSB's North Campus volunteers created artificial burrows for them out of rocks to kind of restore parts of North Campus habitat. But I know they're there. I don't know exactly where else they are in Santa Barbara County.
Callie, our place is overrun by gophers burrowing holes. If a gopher in a hole and one of these owls in the hole fought, who would win?
I think my money would be on the owl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
my years of reporter experience, I would say owl.
Henry's terrified of the owl, so
Good reason.
I would not surprise me. And then what's new at the zoo?
Oh yeah, so they have a new conservation hub. It's called the Richard Block Conservation Hub.
Aren't you
In
supposed to wait till you retire to name something after yourself? What?
he's retiring in I think January of next year, January 2025. So this is his last year, and he did actually make a joke about it. That was pretty funny. He got up to the mic and he was like, "I'm not dead yet."
I know.
But he was very honored, and its whole purpose is to, you know, educate visitors on the conservation work that the zoo does with different species. Like right now they're highlighting the California condor and the Channel Islands fox. And basically they teach you about, you know, like the egg handling and the other different things that they do in their conservation work. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Josh, you remember that Richard Block was central to the success of my career in Santa Barbara when we went in search of the meerkats. And Andy Rose found them actually in Texas, and then
Mexico, yeah.
yeah.
What about when the capybara got on the loose and it was hiding? It got out for 30 days before they found the missing capybara.
How many? Yeah. How many?
Which Callie, if you don't know, is like a giant. It's like a rat the size of a pig.
Oh, I know what a capybara is. Didn't the fennec fox also escape for like 2 days and get found at like a nearby Hilton, or was that a rumor? That might have been a rumor.
I don't know. All right, Nick, real quick, we're just having a lightning round here. What's going on with the ambulance situation? The AMR was in the news again.
Basically, the county supervisors and AMR are at the poker table, and they're trying to figure out how to settle this lawsuit. The county got rid of AMR as the provider of ambulance service for the county after like 40 years, and wanted to give it to the firefighters. The AMR said, well, that's nice, but we're going to take you to court because you violated all your own rules and regulations and everything in terms of how you did this. The judge, one of the local judges here in town, sided emphatically with AMR and pretty much jumped up and down on the county's head and said it was almost a personal opinion. And then Rob Bonta, who is the Attorney General for the state of California and is a card-carrying Democrat, also sided with AMR. So this county of Santa Barbara is saying, I don't want to go to court. This is a lose-lose-lose proposition. And so they're trying to figure a way to settle this so that AMR will go off into the sunset happily. I think what I'm hearing is the offer is 3 years extension of their existing contract, and then the firefighters will go. The firefighters are not happy with that. They say anything more than a year is a sellout. And according to some of the people on the 4th floor, they are very much letting their unhappiness be felt. And will we support you next time you run?
Oh,
So it's everybody agrees on what they want, but they're not getting along on what to do about this situation.
all right. Good news there. More work for lawyers. All right, and Josh, I just you had a couple of political stories this week. Another one about the ascendance of Dem women in interesting event that they had, and also you had Duraka Larimore Hall on your podcast. I think discussing in a very rational way the process by which the Democratic Party has managed to blow its last 2 big elections and losing Mayor Kathy Murillo and Das Williams. But he didn't look at it like that, did he?
No, well, the Dem Women event was amazing. There was 150 people there at the beer garden, and they're doing these social lab mixers, and they're all about trying to figure out ways to help women go into politics, become activists, run for office. It's a big election year. Kamala Harris is the Democratic presidential nominee going to be. And so there's so much energy around
She is. They did
everyone
it
there.
today. She was nominated today, but.
Okay. So there's so much energy around that. And it's really like a who's who of electeds and activists in the community. It is not some side group. It is the group. And it's pretty
150
obvious.
people. That's a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, and Wendy Santa Maria, who's running for city council in District 1, she was there as well. So it's definitely a place that people see as important. And so, yeah, Daraka Larimore Hall was on my show. He did not like the way that I characterized the endorsement process of Mike Jordan. I had said that it was over rent control. He said it was over rent control and other issues. And we went on podcast for an hour and, go to Santa Barbara Talks to watch it on YouTube.
It's a must listen, I have to say. Nick, how many times have you listened to the Josh and Daraka for an hour on the podcast? 3, 4? How many times?
When I go walk my dog, I just put that on, so automatic repeat mode.
Well, I think the issue is one group, the Dem women, are building a coalition by adding people, and another group, the Dem County, is building a coalition by kicking people out who aren't pure enough. And they're losing big elections as a result of that. And we will see what happens. Anyway, I recommend it. Don't miss, Nick, I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to talk about Scott Powers, but Nick's column this week is a really very moving a piece about a guy who got screwed 3 ways from Sunday from the jails and being on the street and all other things. And Callie, don't miss her. What are you working on now? You got any more psychotropic drug stories coming up that I could dip into?
I wish, Jerry. I think Nick forwarded me something recently about kratom, but
Now, have you ever tried that?
What is it?
that might be a potential one.
What is it?
It's kratom. I think it's like one of those ones that are made into like tea and stuff, I'm pretty sure. I don't have much experience with this one, so don't take whatever I say with a grain of salt, but maybe that'll be my next adventure.
Because if you're feeling down, it makes you up, and if you're too up, it calms you down. But medical professionals are a little bit dubious about it, and there's a bill in the Sacramento legislature to limit it.
Oh man.
Got it.
All right. Well, anyway, everyone, Viva la Fiesta. Thanks to Josh Molina, Nick Welsh, and Callie Fausey. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time on Newsmakers.
We'll see you down on Cabrillo Boulevard.